You're listening to the World Footy Net podcast. Welcome to the World Footy Net podcast. You can email us at podcast@worldfooty.net or alternatively, post your comments on the World Footy Net Facebook page.
Today, we're treated with a discussion with Mark Simpson of the new Virginia franchise that's just been selected to play in the NASL for 2014. We also talked to JP Terrassi of the Cape Hurricanes, who themselves will be playing in the NPSL next season in 2013. So sit back and enjoy the next segments of the WFN Weekly Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another segment of the WFN podcast. And with us today is Mark Simpson, Director of Soccer for the new Virginia Soccer franchise. Some will know Mark from his time in MLS with DC United, as well as a host of other experience in the game. Mark, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Dre. Thanks for having me.
Great. Well, it's exciting and welcome news for the NASL fans out there with the announcement that Virginia has now been awarded a place in the 2014 season in the NASL. But before I ask a little bit about that event, can you give our audience a brief history of your involvement in the sport?
Well, let's see. I was drafted by the Chicago Sting in 1988 in the MISL. They're an old NASL club that I used to watch in high school.
Yeah.
I spent 23 years in the professional soccer business, including 15 years with Major League outfit DC United as a player and coach. Mm-hmm. I've gotten out of the game in the last, probably 15 months or so, and I'm really just excited. I'm humbled and just honored at the opportunity to, build something from the ground up. My roots watching the NASL in the old days, it's just really exciting for me to be a part of now.
That's great. Well, with so much history at DC United, how tough of a decision was it to take on another assignment, so to speak, with a brand new team and a sort of retooled league?
With the challenges, and I think, that's what's neat about it is you get to build something from the ground up. I mean, we have just such an amazing team associated and behind the scenes, and it's just really excited to work with them. They've already created a brand in the Loudon Hounds with their AAA, minor league baseball team. So really, the tools are in place. And, from the soccer side, just using my experiences and I do come from humble beginnings where we started in indoor and, taking your van and bus rides all over the place. But it's just really neat to draw from those and just create an atmosphere now where we can, start building players and, introducing an academy program to have a feeder system into our club and, just elevating players to the next level.
Right. And, that when I was talking to David earlier, that relationship between baseball and soccer, it actually has a long history dating back to the old ASL, the American Soccer Leagues with teams like Fall River and Bethlehem Steel. Now, it's interesting to see that relationship there in Virginia. Do you see that relationship between the two sports in the region as a plus going forward?
Oh, absolutely. I think you can just draw on strengths. You're in the professional sports business. You're in the entertainment business. It's one big happy family, and I think you can draw from what the strength of what a baseball team does, and maybe implement that into soccer and vice versa. So, like I said, it's really the same backbone that you'll have with both sports. They've already created the brand for the last 2 years, and so it's just amazing of what they've done already, and all they're doing is creating another brand with the same tools.
Right. So let's go back to the development. From reading about the announcement, it seems that, of course, the Loudon Soccer Club was very instrumental in putting together the package to present, I guess, to the NASL. What part did they play in developing at least the presentation of the team for entry into the league?
Well, they just provided a place for us to announce.
Okay.
We are obviously, we want to be, integrated with them and reach out to, Loudon Soccer and all the soccer communities. We don't want to alienate anybody.
Right.
We want to welcome everybody from the local soccer community into our family and have them be a part of what we're trying to accomplish. And the academy, that's what we want to do, to work with the local soccer clubs to identify those elite players and provide them a place to play at the next level. I talked about last night of implementing Northern Virginia players and getting them the exposure for our youth national teams. Playing in the U.S. Development Academy, they do send scouts out to every game. And therefore, that's going to just give our players, our youth players, more exposure to our national team programs.
Great. So the foundation now seems to be set. What came first? Were you asked to join up and be a part of the attempt to be in the NASL, or did they secure it first and then come to you as a to appoint you as a director? How did that come about?
The idea of the NASL franchise was about 18 months ago. My involvement started about 15 months ago in August of last year. So I've been in the planning stages. It's been a long process. Obviously, we had to secure a site of where the stadium were to be built. And once we got that moving forward, all of our packages and presentations to the NASL started in the fall of last year. So it's an ongoing process, and obviously we had to secure that stadium deal, which we now have, and things kind of progressed very rapidly after that. So the NASL have gotten to know us quite a bit over the last year and a half, and we presented a package to them that they were in much favor of, and we're just excited to get started. I know it's still a year and a half off to when we play, but like I said before, they've created a brand, and now we have that 18 months ramp-up time in which to perfect what we're doing in soccer.
Yeah, David and I touched on that a little bit earlier. Being here in Atlanta, when the decision was made for them to join the ADSL, they had less than 3 months to produce a team, including a staff and players. So the combines came quick and fast. And, as we said before, I think that league position that first year for Atlanta, for us here, shows how difficult it was to put together a competitive team early. But you guys have some time to produce a competitive team. Do you expect to compete right away? And what I mean by that, do you think you can emulate, so to speak, what San Antonio did the first year and being a real contender, or do you foresee a slower growth period?
Well, I compare us to San Antonio, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think of our situation the same exact way. Sure, we had kind of tossed around the idea back in May of trying to compete in 2013, and as you see, if you ask Atlanta, I'm sure there are challenges with trying to assemble not only your staff but your players, and your stadium ops to get a team in place for 3 months. It's a challenge, and sure, this has been 15 months in the making for me, and it would be great to start in 2013, but I think you have to be realistic about everything. San Antonio took 18 months in which to ramp up and look at the product that they put out on the field. They were not only successful on the field, but off the field, and creating their brand. And I think you have to, if you're going to do it, you have to do it right, and our group is committed to doing that.
Yep, set that firm foundation. So just a couple more questions, Mark. What's next now? What are the next tasks for you now as far as your staff and players? I know you had talked about the academy, but what are you going to really set as a goal for the club now?
Well, I think obviously we launched our Name the Team contest. With our sponsors, and we want to make sure that we create that brand and get our community involved, get out in the community, start giving back right away, set up our camps and clinics, our coaching clinics, and make sure that people know who we are. So when we do start in 18 months at the start of the 2014 season, that people know exactly who we are. So creating that brand, obviously, for the next 6 months to a year is important. And then putting all the details together for the academy program. Our academy program expects to launch given all the details put together in 2013. That's our goal right now.
Mm-hmm.
So those conversations will, they've been started. There's a little bit of a base, but I think all the puzzle pieces need to fit to where now we have a great foundation, and now we have our academy up and running. And then obviously, at the start of the spring with this year, I'm already going on and scouting the ACC tournament on Friday. I'll be wanting to scout the spring games for colleges, the PDL, the USL games, MLS reserve games next year, and then obviously ramp up with our scouting of the NCAA in the fall of next year. So,
okay.
It's going to be busy. We're not going to be playing busy, but there's a lot to ramp up for and a lot to look forward to, and just really now that we've announced, just excited to get started on this.
Great. And related to that, if there was a player out there who wanted a trial with you, I know you're going to be doing your scouting and looking yourselves, but let's say that there's, a player that wants to go to a trial. Are there combines as well scheduled, or how would they?
That's something over the next couple of months to, probably progressing into the spring. I mean, we don't have a head coach identified right now. We want to take and go through the process and make sure we find the right person who's going to help us create the right atmosphere for our players.
Right.
So there will be discussions, obviously, to try to get to identify players and what process does that entail. So there will be talks about that, and obviously we want to hire additional staff to just kind of round out what we're trying to accomplish here. So, I would say yes, there will be some combines specifically in place. I think if you look at, the San Antonio model where they actually came out here to the Maryland area and did a combine, I think they went down to Arizona and did a combine as well. So I think it makes sense if you do it regionally, coast to coast. I mean, can you set up one now and create those relationships with people where you can identify players not just here in the Mid-Atlantic area, but, down in the Southeast and out west in the Midwest.
Right, yes. And it is early doors right now, so like you said, there's plenty of time to go forward. One other question I have, one last question, is with the fans themselves. Are there any supporters groups right now organized that are working with the club? I know that San Antonio, that was they have a very close relationship with the fan groups there. Has that developed yet, or is that still kind of in the early stages as well?
Well, I mean, just in terms of announcing the team last night, we did have, I actually had two people come up and say they wanted to start a fan club specifically for our club. The one thing that I would mention is, we will have a fan fest, which was created with the Loudoun Hounds baseball. We did it at a local high school here in Loudoun County, and it was expected that we were only going to get about 1,500. They ended up getting 10,000 people for the Fan Fest for baseball. Wow. So, like I said, I work with an incredibly talented team with sales and marketing, and there is no doubt in my mind, not just creating the brand, but getting out in the community and making sure that we're well known, giving back to the community. So they know who we are, and I think that will take care of itself. For sure.
Yeah. No doubt. I'm sure they're looking forward to it. Even, fans here in Atlanta are excited about it because, adding another team, another quality team to the league is going to be good for the league as a whole and more exciting. And quite frankly, we're looking for another rival. So there you are. We'll have to see how that develops.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's not just building, the sport of soccer, but you're building the NASL and creating that brand and making it a strong league to compete for years to come.
Right, exactly. So, Mark, I want to thank you for taking time out to talk to us here at WFN and about the exciting event. And we wish you well going forward, except when you play Atlanta. But we'll keep an eye on you as a franchise as you work to build the team and look forward to talking to you again sometime.
Well, thanks, Dre. I appreciate you having me, and we just want to thank all of our competitors, too, for welcoming us into the NASL.
Great. I appreciate that. Stay tuned for this short station break, and we'll be right back with more Soccer Talk. Pot hunting, the source for authentic American soccer wear. Pot hunting was formed in 2010 with one simple mission: patch holes in a century of American soccer history, one t-shirt at a time. It is a tale of amazing clubs and world-class players. It features an Open Cup competition second only to the English FA Cup itself. It is filled with political strife, hostile takeovers, and world travel and international intrigue. Myth has it that pro soccer arrived in the U.S. about the same time as the NFL's Super Bowl. In reality, U.S. pro soccer thrived long before the Depression-era Dust Bowl. Join pot hunting and rediscover the lost heritage of soccer in the United States. Pot hunting, the source for authentic American soccer wear.
We are full-service photographers here at Images Frozen in Time. We offer beauty portrait sessions with all the glamour of a professional makeover. Our maternity and baby portrait sessions creatively capture those special family milestones. Baby showers, bridal showers, family reunions, and weddings are only to name a few of the events that we can help you capture. Let us professionally capture each and every moment of your special family moments so that they will forever be treasured as your family's images frozen in time. Give us a call today at 678-900-8317. Don't let those moments be lost forever, and let Images Frozen in Time be your photographers for life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this segment of the WFN podcast. Today we continue our series on domestic league soccer, and we have on the line JP Terrassi, who is the director of the Cape Hurricanes, who have just been admitted into the NPSL for the next season. Now, for those of you who are not that familiar with the soccer pyramid in the United States, the NPSL, or the National Premier Soccer League, is the fourth tier level of soccer in the United States. Unfortunately, we refuse to institute promotion and relegation, so the process to enter into the league is a little bit different than what many of you are familiar with throughout the rest of the world. But the Cape Hurricanes story will help you to understand this process more. And so we'll just get into discussion here with JP. First of all, I want to thank you for taking time out to talk to us, JP. And I wanted to know, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. I appreciate the time, and I enjoy the show, and I look forward to telling our story.
Great. Well, before we get into the NPSL and you getting into that league, let's get a little bit of a background on you and the club, if I could. And the first question I have for you is, what's your personal history with the game in general?
I played a bit when I was younger, and recently, in the older leagues, of course. But it's really, and I have 5 children as well, and almost all of them have played or are playing now, so we're around the game quite a bit.
Okay.
But it started actually with the last couple World Cups. My wife was originally Colombian. She actually got me quite a bit into the game, and had us follow the last couple World Cups pretty intensely, and the love of the fan part of the game actually grew, as opposed to just being a soccer dad type of thing.
Okay, so I didn't know that about your wife. So was that a major part or a major influence into you maybe getting the interest? I mean, I know that you said about the World Cup and everything, but what was that spurred on by your wife's own interest in the sport?
No, it was just something that we had kind of in common, and kind of grew with I grew into the sport. She's, been a fan most of her life, of course, being from back there, but she's been in the country now for over 20 years. But she kind of helped, we kind of grew together in that game the last couple of years. So.
Good deal. Well, as you got into the game a little bit more, how did you get associated with the Cape Hurricanes there?
Well, it's kind of interesting. When the last World Cup happened, I just so happened to have had a couple major surgeries at the time. I had open heart surgery done and had a bowel surgery done, so I was recovering right at that time. And so I was home in recovery, and got to actually watch most of the games during that World Cup. And then in talking to the fans and local fans and family and friends, and I'm also pretty involved in the local chambers. And I saw how much that the game just had interest here locally, and how many people actually followed the game and followed their respective countries, and how much of a U.S. fan base there was. I started thinking that there was more of a fan base and love of soccer here than I ever knew about, and just started the questions in my head, and just started asking questions of people around and finding out how big the game actually was down here in Southwest Florida.
Okay, and so you noticed an interest in the game there. How did the club develop around that interest?
So there really was no chance to watch high-level soccer here, other than on TV. So I contacted both leagues and did a lot of research and kind of developed the idea of bringing the team to the Cape and to Southwest Florida from there. And it's interesting that the first thing that I did, and me being a marketing and media professional myself, and that's what I do for a living, I developed a website called bringtheteam.com. And ask people and ask local fans and local business people and just regular high school and college kids to go there and check it out and read about the idea of bringing a team to Southwest Florida, and if they agreed with that idea. And if they did support that idea, to sign an internet petition saying that they supported it. And we got such a tremendous response for that we kind of took the next step and started finding out about the leagues. And developed the name. Actually worked through a couple different name ideas and let the Bring the Team website, the fans that went there, choose the name and then choose the colors and eventually actually choose the logo for the team. So we got them involved from the very beginning. And things just kind of developed from there to taking that next step and saying, okay, before we jump into a big league, like one of the 4th Division U.S. soccer leagues, let's find out, now we've got a strong base to kind of go from the internet and conversations. Let's take the next step. Let's field a team. Let's actually put together a full season of exhibition games, get as many high-quality games as we possibly can, both from local men's teams that play in a lot of tournaments all around Florida, to actual, if you look at the site, we played 4 actual PDL teams. 3 of them on an away basis, and we actually got the Jacksonville Destroyers to come to Cape Coral to play a game here at home. And we did rather well with them. We tied 2 and slightly lost 2, and had 9 other games, 11 total. And we found out that the base here is very strong, and we could take the next step and actually start looking at fielding a team in one of the 4th Division leagues.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I really like the way the team seemed to have developed. I went to the website there, and for those out there listening, it's CapeHurricanes.com. And on the site, you could see the exhibition season that you went through and all the results there. And I was thinking, what a great way to kind of test the waters. You started from the grassroots, you put the team together. Before you jumped into a league, you said, well, let's just create our own little competition here by, inviting teams to play and getting the results. And that way you can gauge not only the ability of your team, but how it fits into the community. And that really, impressed me of how you developed the club. And so I did want to ask you, because a lot of us not from that area don't know exactly where the Cape is down there. Can you kind of give us a reference of where you're located?
Yeah, a lot of people know the Fort Myers area, and we're literally right across a pretty large river from there. Cape Coral's it's just north of Naples and south of the Sarasota area, but it is the 2nd largest landmass city in the state of Florida behind Jacksonville. And in our own backyard here in the Cape, we actually have the 2nd largest soccer association in the state of Florida, which is called the Cape Coral Soccer Association. Most cities struggle to get maybe 800 or 1,000 in their youth program, and we have 2,400.
Wow.
And most cities struggle to get maybe 7 or 8 all-star teams. We have 24 competitive traveling all-star teams. And then out of that population base that I mentioned, there are 26,000 Hispanics that live in Cape Coral and 14,000 Europeans that are mostly German that live in Cape Coral.
Mm-hmm.
That's 40,000 potential soccer fans on top of the CCSA that's in our backyard. That's 2,400 youth, not including mom, dad, aunt and uncle, brother, sister, grandma, grandpa. And then the greater area as a whole, the whole Southwest Florida, there's a ton of youth leagues in every city. There's men's leagues in every city, a few women's leagues. So the soccer base here is pretty strong, and it's really a hotbed for soccer talent. They just don't get the exposure that other major cities do, and that's what we're trying to do.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about, moving on to the next thing, another unique quality that I see in the team is that you describe yourself as a faith-based team. Can you tell us a little bit about the association you have with your religious faith as well as with the team?
Yeah, absolutely. It really started with our family. My family being 5 kids, an extended family that we have here. We're all very strong Christians, and our faith is pretty prominent in our lives. In most things we do, we ask God for favor, and obviously it's one of the first things I did when thinking of putting together a team like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally tell you that He's blessed this team in so many different ways and pulled us through some pretty dark moments during the whole process. And it's allowed us to have a strong base to kind of pull from, because it isn't easy. It's coming up with something from scratch and trying to create it to a level like this. So we rely on our faith a lot, but it's not something. There are teams across the country that are very, very outwardly profess their faith with the team, and we may not shout it as much as other teams do,
Mm-hmm.
but it is rooted in that, and we do have we do follow our faith, and we don't shy away from it, and we don't require everyone that's involved to be a Christian or have their faith, but it is something that we personally pull from, and everyone knows that, and we don't shy away from it, though.
How have others reacted to that part of, I guess on a larger scale, it may look maybe unusual to some who are watching the sport. Have you had any positive or negative reaction to that part of the team?
Largely positive.
Okay.
But there hasn't been too much of an issue with it because, most people that follow the sport, at least in our market here, that have a Hispanic background or come from the Midwest, have a Christian background. So we're not going to probably see it as much as any adverse effects to it as maybe other parts of the country. There was really only one instance where we had a potential investor decline once he realized how much faith-based we were. But other than that, we've had no issues at all, and quite the opposite. People are impressed, like you mentioned, that we do profess that, and we aren't afraid to show it, and that we are so strong in our faith, and that the guys do pray before each practice and before each game for each other, and they come together, like you said, in unity in many different ways, even off the field. We've seen it, so it's a big part of our lives, and we're pretty proud of it.
Okay, well, good deal. Well, moving on to after the team was established and you had your exhibition season, when did the first idea come to you to step it up a bit and look to get into an organized league?
We had the ambition before we started last year's exhibition season. Of course, we had kind of high hopes for the team and for the market. But once we actually saw how much people enjoyed it, and how much they got behind the team, and they followed it online, offline, and we have a Facebook, a Twitter, and how many people were actually talking about it. The media did a fantastic job. I mean, we were just an exhibition team. We weren't in one of the leagues yet. And we were on TV 6-7 times, on the radio numerous times, in the newspaper numerous times. So the whole area kind of got behind us and behind the idea of a team. So NPSL was in a position to make that move. And the press release we sent out the other day, there's 11 new teams that have been approved for the league already, and we're actually working on more that we're hoping to come in by the end of the month. And if both of those things happen, we should rival the amount of teams that are in the USL side of things, the USL PDL. So it's in a high growth stage right now, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it really does sound. It's going to be a very interesting year with the entry into the NPSL now, JP. Are there going to be any sort of upgrades or changes in the personnel, both in the playing staff and with the coaching staff now? Any changes there, or are you going to go in pretty much with the same setup you had in the exhibition season?
No, it's going to be quite a bit different.
Ah,
The coaching staff that we're putting together now, we have a trainer, and one of the owners has had a lot of experience in training a team of this level, and he's going to begin to do that. And then we're actually in the interviewing process for the head coach and the assistant coaches. But the people that we're talking to have experience at this level and want to get their feet wet and have this be their career. So it's, that was kind of one of our mandates, is that not only kind of from the area and know the market a little bit, but this is something they're passionate about and want to have a career with. And on the team side, you're right. With the exhibition team, we're not going to get some of the top talent because it is just an exhibition team. But now that we're actually in the league, there's a lot more people that are starting to contact us from all over. There will be a core group of guys, of course, from last year.
sure.
And we learned a lot on the business side of things, the marketing side of things. But on the field, it'll probably be, at best, a third to maybe half of the team, and the rest will probably be new.
Wow. I mean, that sounds very exciting. And again, that's where the advantage of having that exhibition season comes to the fore. I think with playing, legitimate games, but in a practice sort of atmosphere, you're able to weed out, hey, what can we do better, the next time than we did before? And you have all this experience now ready to hit the ground running. So that sounds exciting. I mean, I can't wait to see what you actually do in the coming season. And you're set to start in this coming season next year, right? In 2013.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I did want to point out one other thing. As you know, the people that are real soccer fans, at least U.S. soccer fans, and they know the soccer pyramid here. The Tampa Bay Rowdies just won the NASL championship a couple weeks back.
Right.
And people know the hierarchy: MLS, NASL, USL Pro, and then our two divisions, two leagues. And what some people may realize when they go to the site is they'll see the NASL teams, the second division teams. Many of those teams have reserve teams that play in the NPSL.
Right.
So we're going to be playing against reserve players that probably will make the leap at some point to a second division team, and then you never know from there, overseas or MLS. So these guys are going to get exposure playing against pretty high talent. But we're going to kind of adopt that idea a little bit, where we are also going to have a reserve team, and we're creating a brand new local premier men's league here that's going to be associated with the Florida State Soccer Association, the FSSA, and then the USASA, so that our local league, our local premier men's league, our reserve team can play in that league all year long. And then many of those guys will end up making, obviously, the NPSL team.
Right.
And then when that happens, we'll fill in the blank on the reserve teams, and they'll continue to play. And then that team is actually going to play in the two state cups and make a run at the U.S. Open Cup themselves, aside from the NPSL team. So we've kind of got both going. So there's a lure for just getting involved on the reserve team level with the hopes of getting up to the NPSL team level. Because we all know at this level, guys move, families move,
Right.
get married and move. They college, maybe they go to a pretty big college, and coach is going to say, okay, you're done with the summer league team for a while. You got to come back here. Other guys get hurt, unfortunately. So there's always times where we got to pull from a reserve team type of team. But it's going to get that many more people exposure to high-level soccer.
For those, in the Atlanta area, familiar with the Atlanta Silverbacks, they do have a team in the NPSL, the Atlanta Silverbacks Reserves.
Yep.
Now,
right. That's what I mentioned earlier, that are actually in our bigger conference before it got split. You're right.
Right, yeah. And so I know that, the purists will say they're technically a separate team, so to speak. They're a separate entity, but they are associated. And there is a linkage there between the senior side of the Silverbacks and the reserve side. It is there. Jason Longshore works with them, who also works with Soccer in the Streets. So that avenue is open, and I just love the opportunity it gives those kids to show what they have, and it's exciting for the fan base too. And I kind of wanted to kind of transition to that area as far as the local community. Now, what's your fan support like? Or has it developed? Is there something that's developing, or do you already have a good support structure with your fans?
Well, it's going to be an ongoing basis for sure. This was a brand new idea, if you remember. So, what people are used to here is bringing their kids to the park to play youth soccer, or the select few of them that are good enough to get on those traveling teams. Of course, families a little bit more involved, taking them to different tournaments and whatnot. But that's as far as it went. And actually going to watch a game and pay to watch a game was a brand new concept here. And there was a lot of hurdles that we had to overcome to get the people to do that. So we reduced ticket prices quite a bit. The average ticket price around the country is $8, $10, $12 probably. And we made ours $4 and $5 for the exhibition season. And that's one thing I wanted to point out is we did rather well. Now, luckily, I have the connections that we have here with my business being involved in the chamber, and I get the Cape Coral Soccer Association right here that we relied heavily upon. But at the same time, I learned that once teams are actually in the USL PDL, the average for a first-year team, actually in the league for the first year, average attendance is about 225 people. We averaged 239 in an exhibition year. So I thought that we did pretty well.
That's very interesting.
The national average, yes, right. But we're going to do a ton more this year that we weren't able to do last year, just because the purse strings are open up a little bit. We got brought upon other investors to get at this level, of course, and there's a lot more promotions that we're going to be doing that we couldn't do last year, and getting a lot more of the youth involved. And like you said, the privileged youth. One of our ambitions we're going to end up doing very soon is creating a soccer foundation that will help raise funds for these types of youth that can't even afford a ball or a shin guard. I mean, it's amazing. You go to the park sometimes and what they strap to their legs is makeshift shin guards. And there's other ones that are really talented at the 10, 12, 14 age group, but they don't have the funds to be in one of those youth leagues or to be on one of those traveling leagues. So this foundation that we're going to start will actually raise funds to help them do that as well. So all of those things are going to help contribute to building that fan base and expanding our market a little bit.
Wow. So it sounds like you got some involvement from the local businesses and sponsorship. How's that going right now?
Pretty good. I mean, for an exhibition season, I think we did pretty well. And with me being in the marketing business, what I've created all our marketing material to say is that it's a partnership. We want to make sure that it's not just a feel good that I'll contribute because this is a local team, or that it's helping youth, or it's giving our local players a shot at the big time, any of that. But I want to give them actual value to working with us and partnering with us. So we build in a lot of different things that will help expand their brands and expand their market base to the soccer market that's here. And as we all know as soccer fans, it's been written about quite a few times, the soccer families and soccer players are very brand conscious and very brand loyal. So those companies that support youth soccer teams and soccer teams of our level, they tend to do pretty well from their market standpoint and brand standpoint.
Excellent stuff. Excellent to hear that. And just a couple of more things, JP, going forward for you and the club there. What's the next step, the very next step for the club? Now that you know you're going to be in the league next year, what are you going to do now?
Well, we're interviewing coaches in the next couple of weeks. We're starting with those local players that I told you that ended up on our team last year, of training them starting next week. And then we're going to have open tryouts in December and January, two separate ones like we did last year. And I want to touch on that real quick. Is our tryouts? I think more tryouts around the country should be like what we're going to do and what we did last year. Many tryouts, you'll see that they have a token, couple people that they'll pick up on the team and try to filter into the system, and only look at a few people. we're going to make it much broader than that and almost have a mini combine out of it, as what we did last year. So it's really some good training and with some of the higher class coaches that are down here. So we make it at least 2 days, 3 days, where they not only get looked at, but they get trained as well by these top coaches. But at the same time, it's not just something as simple as slapping a paper number on somebody's back. We make a value out of it again. Last year, and we plan on doing the same thing this year, we gave every tryout applicant, regardless of how good they were, or if we knew them or not, everyone got an actual jersey. Everyone got an actual pair of shorts with the logo on the jersey. They got a commemorative T-shirt, 2-color commemorative T-shirt to commemorate the tryouts that only they got. Then we also had all the drinks that they wanted, sponsored by one of the local supermarkets. And then we had lunch and dinner, a light lunch and dinner for each day. So we try to make it a value for them that is just not coming out for a couple hours, slapping a number on their back and say, great, have a good day. We want to build that fan base and show that there's a value of working with Cape Coral Hurricane all the way down to that tryout level. So that's what we'll be preparing for very, very shortly, is that type of thing with our tryouts. They're coming pretty quick.
Yeah, and I like the way you're approaching it, both with the sponsors and with the community. I mean, it's saying that the part about the partnership, that you're doing it together, I think is very important. So just one last thing, JP, before we close it out here. Tell everybody out there how to find you online, your website, if you're on Facebook and Twitter, if you just let them know about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll find everything from the history of the team on there to our players that played last year and, of course, the ones that are coming this year. So CapeHurricanes.com is the website, but we also do quite a bit with the social media. We have a Facebook page right now, which is, again, Cape Hurricanes, and then a Twitter account that I tweet on probably more so than my wife likes me to do, quite a bit during the day as well. So, and that's Cape Hurricanes. And both of those links are on every page of our site. You'll see it down the left-hand corner, the Christian Fish, and down in the right-hand corner, the Twitter and the Facebook links.
Right, and on when we release the podcast, we'll have all that information on the page at WFN as well. If anybody wants to go and check it out and maybe even get involved yourselves. And if someone did want to get involved, whether it's a business or an individual, what can they do to help you out?
Quite a bit, actually. I mean, it's something as simple as liking us on the Facebook and following us on Twitter would be big. We do have, if you go to the website, an option to be included in the team newsletter, which last year was about monthly, but this year we're going to do it weekly. So we'll have a weekly newsletter about the team. But, and then, of course, sponsorship levels of all different kinds, and something as simple as buying in our full-color program. We're having a 32-page full-color glossy program, much like a magazine-style program for the year. We can get in there. We got banners on the side of the field, advertising on the website. But at the same time, there is a little bit of ownership still available, and there was a certain percentage that we wanted to sell before the end of the year, and we're very close to that. We did better than I thought we would do, but there is a little bit of team ownership, and it's not very expensive. And we've actually broken up to very small percentages so that, a real soccer fan, a local soccer fan that would be interested in doing that can be involved in the team even at the ownership level. So there's a plethora of ways that somebody can get involved with the team.
Well, JP, it's a really fascinating and unique story, and we'll follow your progress here at WFN, and hopefully as things develop, and especially when you get into the season and as the season approaches, we'd like a chance to talk to you again and see how things are going, if that'd be okay.
That'd be fantastic. I'd enjoy it very much.
Great. Well, I appreciate the time again that you had with us, and I'm going to let you go, and hopefully you go ahead and have a good rest of the week, and we'll talk to you later. All right. Good deal.